Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke, and this is the CBC Morning Report for Monday, September 20th. In our top story, the compassionate severance being proposed by the Antiguan government to the former pilots of LIAT 1974 Limited has been described as unappealing. A recent meeting saw the administrators offering 30% in cash, 20% in bonds, and 50% in land. Patterson Thompson, the Barbadian president of the pilots union LIALPA, spoke with Morning Report about the latest developments.
We've had a meeting with the administrator, with the chairman of the cabinet subcommittee group on LIAT, which is the Honorable Minister, Mr. Lennox Weston, where they outlined their position about the compassionate payout offer. They have subsequently sent their ideas in a 3-page draft outlining how these or some of the compassionate payout, how the mechanism of it. The update is that 90% of the employees of LIAT 1974 Limited remain penniless. They haven't got their severance. Except for the Barbadian government with a small initiative which only paid Bajans and those nationals who would have worked in Barbados, and I'm a Barbadian and I would benefit from that. But it took more than Bajans and those who lived in Barbados to make LIAT run. It took 636 employees, pilots, engineers, ground staff, flight attendants, mechanics. So, in my opinion, it needs a collaborative effort of the 4 shareholders to make this at least deal with the severance and all the entitlements properly, at least an acceptable standard. The 50% compassionate payout comprises of land, cash, and bonds. Obviously, those workers who do not live in Antigua, actually there are some workers who said they didn't want any land either because they had land in Antigua. Obviously, cash is of vital importance because a lot of us have been living in debt. I personally have 3 children. I have not been able to pay my mortgage. So when I start back, it is going to be at a higher rate. So having said that, we understand the situation that most islands find themselves in with the pandemic. And what is really required is a collaborative effort by the 4 governments to come together and help improve on the 50% off of compassionate severance, getting it as close as possible to 100%, even though it could be over a period of time. I think that is ideally the best situation.
The LIALPA president says the offer by the Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown needs to be palatable for all, and the land offer could perhaps be made on the former workers' country of residence. Another viable option suggested by Thompson is that of a credit shell.
If you had land, you may be able to sell the land quicker. But here again, land is and it's not a seller's market, it's a buyer's market, and nobody has cash. So this is where a credit shell may be a better option for people, where they can now purchase things without paying the duty. They may be able to get a business. They may be able to apply it to utilities. People need water, light, gas, and these kind of things. So it may be able to apply to that. The mindset or the vision with it in Antigua is that you'll be offered X amount of money, let's say free of duty. Let's say you had a vehicle or maybe you wanted to bring a truck to move more, you're transporting stuff. You're able to buy the truck, but you will not get the duties. So you will strike those duties. Let's say you had $40,000 in the credit shell. You will strike off all the various duties and the levies on bringing that vehicle, and you will then get the vehicle at cost. I anticipate that is how it will be sold.
Meanwhile, regional trade unions representing the former employees of the cash-strapped regional airline say they have rejected the latest offer by Caribbean shareholder governments to meet their financial obligations to the laid-off workers. President of the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, Donald Rowe, says that the regional unions are united in seeking 100% of the millions of dollars owed to the workers. Next on the CBC Morning Report, updates on the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome back to the Morning Report. Chairman of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Edward Clark, believes it will take about 10 years for Barbados to recover economically if there's another shutdown due to COVID-19. Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley has reiterated that another lockdown is not on the cards. And Mr. Clark, who was the guest on last evening's TV program, One-on-One by the Public Affairs Department, is hoping that the plan remains in place. He notes it would be devastating for the country's economy.
Right now, we are going to take years to recover. I mean, we've lost almost 20% of our gross domestic product in Barbados, and that's going to take a long time to recover. And if we have another lockdown, I can't even foresee where we will be in 2, 3, 5 years' time. It is going to be that devastating. There will be huge unemployment. The government cannot continue to give unemployment benefits to people. Businesses, they cannot sustain the assistance that they've given other businesses. And let's face it, we are on the IMF program. The IMF program, the BERT program, has been very well received by the IMF. They've understood our position. But how long is too long? And how much more can we take as a country? And I think we need to be cognizant of that as a people, that closure of all businesses or lockdown in Barbados will have a very devastating effect that we will probably not recover from for the next 10 years.
And with the country open for business, Mr. Clark suggests Barbados invest in the digital market as there's a need to find opportunities to grow and diversify the economy.
We need to understand where we're going as a country, as a growth for the country itself. Pre-COVID, there was a lot of thought about a lot of heavy tourism investment, even medical tourism investment, other things like that, educational tourism investment. We have seen a sort of a stalling of that, a slowdown of that. We need to find ways to help grow this economy on the digital side, especially the services related side. I think we have to use our educational system a lot better to generate the services that are required globally. You only got to look around and see the 12-month stampers that moved to Barbados. Almost every single one of them, at least one of them, and sometimes two of them in that household are working on island, offshore, providing services offshore to their clients. We need to be able to do the same. We need to be able to compete in that market. So now it's not a geography, it's not a physical and a concrete structure that is selling. We need to be able to provide services to the global market and get known in that global market space. So we as a country need to be able to get that opportunity and go there.
Barbados has recorded 74 new COVID-19 cases. The 35 males and 39 females were diagnosed from 1,759 tests conducted by the Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Saturday. Amidst those 74 new cases are 11 individuals under the age of 18. There are now 837 people in isolation. Since the start of the pandemic, Barbados has recorded 6,527 confirmed cases of the viral illness and 58 deaths. Guyana's government will soon have to reprioritize public health care workers from other departments to treat severe COVID-19 patients. That's if the number of hospitalizations continues to rise. So says Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony.
Dr. Anthony says non-essential health services offered by the ministry will have to close if COVID hospitalizations continue to rise. The minister explained that medical workers will have to be drawn from other departments to care for those hospitalized with a severe form of the virus. To date, 3,041 active COVID-19 cases have been recorded, with 308 new infections and 150 hospitalizations. 34 persons are being treated in the intensive care unit.
We'll have to reprioritize and maybe non-essential kinds of services, we'll have to close those and redeploy staff and resources to treat with the severe cases. So we have a number of contingencies in place and we'll activate them as is necessary.
It was also revealed that 13 pregnant women are hospitalized due to the virus. Given the rise in infections and hospitalizations, the minister is again stressing the need for adherence to the COVID measures.
Well, the task force would work to enforce measures, measures including restriction of numbers of people gathering, talking to people about social distancing, looking at getting people to comply with mask wearing. But while the task force would try to do this, it's really each one of us would have to change our behavior to make sure that we are in compliance with those measures.
Bermuda is reporting progress in getting its medical professionals vaccinated. Chief of Staff on the Bermuda Hospitals Board, Dr. Wesley Millar, revealed the majority of its doctors have been inoculated.
At BHB, the doctors are over 90%. The nurses are now at 70%. But unfortunately, some of the others within the organization have lagged behind significantly. We'd certainly like to encourage everyone to go out and have their vaccines. Even among our staff, the people who are COVID positive, at least 80% of them have not been vaccinated.
Time for a preview of what's coming up on Morning Barbados. And for that, we say good morning to Pearson Boone.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, everyone. And it's Monday, so naturally we'll have our conversations on CARICOM. The last time we were together, Ambassador Commichon let us know that there was going to be a very special heads of government meeting on COVID-19. We'd love to hear the outcomes of that. Plus, as CARICOMers ourselves, we'd love to know what's coming up that we need to pay attention to. This morning, we'll also get to meet the newly installed Barbados ambassador to the United Arab Emirates. He's been posted there, he's been there now, and so he left here, he says, with a multitude of plans and objectives on paper and Barbados in his heart. We'd love to know what was on that paper. And today, too, we'll continue to celebrate with a young fledgling Barbadian designer who took her way all the way to New York and she stunned the audience there. We'll catch up with Caramel Ware and take a look at her experience in New York. That is just a little bit of what else we'll be joining me for when you come over at 6:30. Wendy, it's back to you.
Thank you, Pearson. We look forward to hearing those stories. We'll see you at the bottom of the hour. It's time now for another break, and we return with more news. There was a high turnout at COVID-19 vaccination sites across Barbados yesterday, following Prime Minister Mia Mottley's call to see 50,000 Barbadians vaccinated in the next 5 weeks. CBC's Aaliyah Briggs has that story.
On Sundays, Barbadians traditionally flock popular areas like Brandon's and Browns Beach for a relaxing afternoon. However, today, the scene at these popular areas was more than just sun, sea and sand, as scores of Barbadians took the opportunity to get COVID-19 shots through the National COVID-19 Vaccination Campaign's mobile unit. More than 1,000 people have received the vaccines through the mobile unit's operations so far. And co-coordinator of the National COVID-19 Vaccination Program, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, says there's been a steady flow of traffic at various pop-up sites over the weekend.
I think the vaccination effort is going pretty well. I'm very pleased with the turnout at the beach this morning. We're having a steady flow, same as yesterday, where I was at both Bonnets and Hero Square. And all the other sites, when we looked at the figures, were very good. So it's heartening, and I encourage people to come up and get their vaccines.
There was also a big turnout at the vaccination site at number 2 Harbour Industrial Park. While some were deterred by long lines, others were determined to wait for their jab.
I have been waiting a little while, and it really doesn't matter how long I have to wait. We wait longer at events and other things, Quapover, for example, to either get into an event or to go have fun. Why can't we do this? We have to do this for each other. And we have the responsibility as our neighbours' keepers to do this.
In yesterday's press briefing, Prime Minister Mia Mottley announced her hopes of having 50,000 Barbadians vaccinated in the next 5 weeks. Dr. Ferdinand says while this goal is achievable, it will require public cooperation.
The goal that PM has set, I think, is achievable, but of course we can't deliver if the people don't come up. So it's a two-way thing. People have to come and we have to give. And we are trying the best from our end to go to every nook and cranny, I would say, of the island so that people can conveniently come out and get their vaccine.
Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
Connecting minds, creating the future. That is the theme of the global trade show Expo Dubai 2020, which is scheduled to begin on October 1st and run until March 31st, 2022 in the United Arab Emirates. Over 190 countries have been invited to this event and are expected to showcase their cultures to the world. Kay-Ann Brathwaite, the Chief Executive Officer at Invest Barbados, says this is an opportunity to exhibit the multifaceted identity of Barbados and connect with the world.
Participating in this global cultural event also presents opportunities for Barbados to build partnerships while strengthening our relationships with several countries. Expo 2020 Dubai not only allows Barbados to engage with the United Arab Emirates, but provides us with a dynamic platform from which to connect with the rest of the world, both at the macro and micro levels, in one location, while showcasing who we are, where we want to be, and our journey towards that destination. Our story will be told and our future plans highlighted. One of the more important features of Expo is that each participating country will have a national day. Barbados' special day will take place on January 13th, 2022. This will be the opportune time to highlight the true meaning of being Barbadian, as well as our nation.
Meanwhile, Barbados' ambassador to the United Arab Emirates, His Excellency Gabriel Abed, has expressed his intention to work on digital diplomacy and expects Barbados to lead the way in this regard.
Barbados will always hold the title of having launched the very first central bank digital currency company, and the tech startups on the island have much more in store. From Dubai, note that I have already signaled my intent to embark upon digital diplomacy. As such, let me say that it is our goal to launch a new world-first digital diplomacy product during the course of this expo, an example of Barbados again leading the way. But there is so much more to learn, and Dubai is the epicenter of all things grand and possible.
Haitian migrants say they will not be deterred by the United States' plans to expel them. As the Biden administration began flying back to Haiti, some of the thousands of asylum seekers camped on the Texas border with Mexico.
We're on the Mexican side right now of the Rio Grande. That's the river that separates this country from the United States. And we're here because more than 10,000 people, most of them Haitian, have crossed this river to get to the United States and establish a sort of makeshift camp, wanting to be given asylum and to be able to stay in the United States. Many of them travelled through South and Central America to get to this point. They're fleeing poverty and years of political turmoil and natural disasters back home.
I'm really scared. You know why? Haiti had an earthquake. We were left with nothing. No home, no food, nothing. Almost all my family died. And if we don't go across, where are we going to go? We don't have a home. That's why we're searching for a better future.
The flow of Haitians crossing to the United States at this point suddenly turned into a torrent over the last week or two. But now it's slowed again. People have heard the plans from the US government to fly many in the camp back home.
We're scared that if we cross, they'll just deport us back to Haiti, and it will be worse for us.
Those we did see crossing the river were mainly bringing food and water to those on the other side. I asked this man how people were doing on the other side.
They're okay, but sad, because maybe tomorrow they'll be deported.
Conditions in the camp are reportedly tough, with not enough food, toilets or water, but we couldn't verify that. Earlier in the day, we tried to enter the camp via the front door in Texas.
We just tried to get into the camp via the US entry, and we were denied there. We now just crossed the river and tried to get in through this entry port, and we've just been denied by the border patrolmen that you can see behind me, who say that we're not allowed in.
Other journalists said the same. The US authorities are blocking the media from talking to those inside. Meanwhile, they're faced with a problem that would test any administration. A makeshift shantytown suddenly springing up on their border with thousands desperate to stay.
UNICEF is warning many children in Afghanistan will die if urgent aid isn't received in short order.
Gasping for air, this child is in critical condition, but there's no ventilator at this hospital in Kabul. She's among thousands of newborns here in Afghanistan who desperately need immediate treatment.
As you see it here, is a child who is extremely premature, and he needs a constant supply of oxygen and appropriate temperature in order to survive. And in the absence of resources, we wouldn't have oxygen.
Incubators in this ward are in poor shape. There's shortage of masks, gloves, medicine and baby food. Hervé Delis is the UNICEF representative in Afghanistan. He is visiting this hospital to see what are the most urgent needs. Delis is struggling to address the ever-growing needs of health facilities in Afghanistan. And with each passing day, Afghan children are dying of disease and malnutrition.
Well, there is always life at the end of the tunnel. And that's why we do what we do. If there was no life at the end of the tunnel, we will not be here. Can't do this.
Government officials have other priorities. Taliban leaders are desperate for international recognition and financial assistance. But Afghanistan's big donors remain skeptical of the Taliban. In the meantime, the health system is on the verge of collapse. Doctors and nurses are brave. They work long hours, but they are short-staffed and overwhelmed with the number of children who are treated here every day and who suffer from measles and malnutrition. And in many cases, because they don't have the right equipment, they are struggling to find the right words to tell the parents that their children may not make it tomorrow.
In sports, Dwayne Bravo and the Chennai Super Kings defeated Kieron Pollard and defending champions Mumbai Indians by 20 runs in the first game of the UAE leg of the Indian Premier League yesterday. CSK set up 156 for 6 after player of the match Raturaj Gikwad struck an unbeaten 88. Bravo added 23. In reply, Mumbai fell short on 136 for 8 off their 20 overs, with Surab Tiwari not out on 50 and skipper Pollard making 15. Bravo, with 3 for 25, was the leading wicket taker for CSK. Here's how Mumbai innings went. Well, I was still enjoying that brilliant moonlight on my way in, so let's see what the rest of the weather holds. The forecast in Barbados tonight, right now, it is feeling like 30 degrees, but it is actually 24.4 degrees Celsius, thank you. The humidity at 87, barometric pressure 11.6 millibars. The winds are coming from the south at 40 kilometers per hour. The day is expected to be fair. Our tides at 9:28 will be the first low tide, and there will be a second low tide at 9:37 p.m. High tide will be at 3:52 in the afternoon. The seas are expected to be smooth to moderate in open water, with swells ranging from 1 to 1.5 meters and increasing. In Barbados today, the forecast mostly sunny with a few light afternoon showers across the northern parishes. Tonight is expected to be mostly clear. The Lesser Antilles fair at first, becoming partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy, with some light to moderate showers in the afternoon. And tonight in the Lesser Antilles, it will be partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy, with some scattered light to moderate showers. And now here's a look at weather in our international cities. That was today's morning report. Our next newscast on TV8 will be Newsday at noon. We now join Pearson for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Monday the 20th of September 2021. I'm Pearson Boeing, welcoming all of you in Barbados, watching us on your TV screens, or for those of you around the world watching us on our YouTube channel and our Facebook streams as well. Good morning to you. Monday, the start of a brand new week. Well, this morning on Morning Barbados, we would have just completed the Youth Forum in the lead up to UNTAD 15. Well, very shortly we'll be starting the Civil Society Forum. And our lead in that, Dr. Chantal Monroe-Knight, will join us to talk a little bit more about how we as civil society can engage in that particular forum. We'd also to meet today Bajan Afar, who is a doctor in Florida doing great work in urology. And we'll hear a little bit more about the Deaf Heart Project. What's that about? We'll hear from Shay Greenwich and a whole lot more. Let's get started with our conversation on CARICOM this morning with Ambassador David Commichon. Good morning to you, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Now, the last time we were together, you were hinting at the fact that there is to be a heads of government meeting, a very special meeting on COVID-19. And I told you then I wished I could have peeped in on that conference. You perhaps had a better point of view. So could you tell us what are the outcomes of that special heads meeting?
Yes, well, last week was a busy week for CARICOM, beginning with that special emergency heads of government meeting. The meeting was really precipitated by the surge, the very serious surge in COVID-19 cases all across our community, and the very real possibility that many of our member states are in danger of being overwhelmed by COVID-19, health systems being overwhelmed. And so the heads really came together to strategize, how best to respond to this growing emergency. And several calls came out from the meeting. First of all, there was the call to the entire population to get vaccinated. Everyone was unanimous on that, get vaccinated. Secondly, there was a call for national unity. And what the heads were saying is that not only is the public health in danger, but the economy is in a very precarious position, the education system, and therefore that there should be no divide. We should come together to fight COVID in a very unified way. They also recognize that they needed to do more with messaging, and every individual country has its own national system of getting out messages to its people about the need to get vaccinated and so forth. But they decided that they needed to come with a regional public relations campaign to supplement what member states are doing nationally. So that is going to be rolled out. I personally, Pearson, my suggestion is that one of the messages that we really need to stress, I think we really need to bring to the attention of our people all of the testing that has been done on these vaccines. Because what I hear from many people is, it normally takes 5 to 10 years to develop a vaccine, a safe vaccine. How come this vaccine was developed so quickly? Yes. But what people are not recognizing is that because this was such a pressing emergency for the entire world, that everything was focused on this, and tremendous resources were put into this. And the numbers of persons that were involved in testing of these vaccines, was equal to the testing of any other vaccine. But that detailed factual information needs, in my opinion, to be presented to our people. So I hope that the new regional public relations campaign will include that, reassuring people. They also stressed that they have to keep on this international mission of demanding vaccine equity. CARICOM is probably the first region to send a very serious message that we can't have this vaccine apartheid, where wealthy developed countries are hoarding the COVID-19 vaccines and depriving Caribbean and African and developing world countries. And this is another message that we need to get out there. That I hear this narrative from some of the anti-vaxxers, that these Western countries are pushing the vaccines on African and black and brown countries. Not true. In fact, it's just the opposite. We have had to fight to get the vaccines. The Western, more white countries have had a tendency to want to monopolize the vaccines for themselves. So the heads are saying, look, we have to keep on this case. In fact, when we go to the United Nations this week, we have to urge that there must be vaccine equity. Also, they came to a decision that they're going to do more to share vaccines, personal protective equipment, test equipment, and supplies among our member states. So where we can share with each other, we're going to share, and that there will also be a COVAX facility to have a special dispensation for CARICOM, where we could agree to reallocate some of our vaccines from COVAX to other CARICOM member states. So if one member state, is doing okay, and another member state is in need, we can tell COVAX, look, give our share to X member state. And finally, that we are sending a message to the United States that the second batch of the Pfizer that they promised to us, that we want it sooner rather than later. We want them to fast track the delivery of that second batch of Pfizer. So those, Pearson, I would say that those were the fundamental messages that came out from that special meeting on COVID.
And that's good to hear, the fact that we don't ourselves want to behave in the way that others have been treating us. We don't want to treat ourselves in the same way. That when we see other member states in need, we will step up and we'll offer as well. And I like the fact that coming out of it, there's going to be a regional messaging where everybody hears and knows the same thing and debunk a lot of the myths that have been circulating, because it's pretty difficult at times, in the face of social media, of having to combat a lot of the nonsense that we're seeing circulating as well. But you mentioned the upcoming general meeting, the meeting of the General Assembly. And I suspect, given the fact that you were asking America, particularly, the Pfizer vaccines are distributed a whole lot sooner, that might very well be delivered there, do you think? That message?
That message was actually delivered last Monday, because representatives of the American government did attend part of the meeting. And so that message was delivered directly. Representatives of both the U.S. government and the British government attended part of that meeting. But this week is going to be a very busy week for our heads of government and our foreign ministers, because tomorrow begins the high-level segment of this year's United Nations General Assembly. So all of our heads and foreign ministers will be on their way to New York, or are already in New York now. It was over the weekend, our foreign minister was in Mexico attending the meeting of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, and then this week is the UN General Assembly. And so we had a foreign ministers meeting last week as well to prepare for this week's meetings, to prepare both for the CELAC meeting over the weekend and for the UN General Assembly meetings starting from tomorrow. And again, the message that we will be taking several messages to the General Assembly. One message will be very much about COVID, about vaccine equity, the need for vaccine equity. Also, the need for financial resources to developing countries whose economies have been devastated by the pandemic, who have had to incur a whole set of expenses, health-related expenses, that they would not have had to incur were it not for the COVID. So that message is going to be delivered. Also, very important for us all the time is a message about climate change. The scientific panel, looking at international panel on climate change, has reported again that we are not on track to keep the global warming to that 1.5 degree increase, that we are heading for way above that. And so we will be emphasizing that the world has, the developed countries in particular, have to do what is necessary to get that goal to no more than a 1.5% degree increase in the world's temperature. Also, the financing that countries like the Caribbean need. We have not created the climate change crisis, but we are on the front line of it, and therefore the financing for adaptation measures and so forth. That message is going to go out. Cuba, we have also committed that at this General Assembly meeting, we are going to raise our voices loudly against the continuing U.S. embargo against Cuba. Those are a few of the key messages that you're going to hear from our leaders at the General Assembly this week.
And I know the last time we met as well, there's a very special high-level meeting looking at the 20th anniversary of the UN World Conference Against Racism. I know that is also going to be a very strong focal point for the week.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that connects right back to the first Africa CARICOM summit that we had a week ago. A very exciting summit, and we are really looking forward to some great things happening from that summit. But it was Prime Minister Motley who, in her address to the summit, reminded all of the African and Caribbean leaders that on Wednesday, the United Nations is holding a special high-level session to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the United Nations World Conference Against Racism that was held in South Africa in 2001, and the Durban Declaration and Program of Action that came out of that conference. So we have all committed to attend that high-level meeting and to use that high-level meeting to advance our claim for reparations within the United Nations system. Because if the United Nations body is going to be a very important institution if we are going to win this battle for reparations. So yes, that's very important. And in fact, I would wish to make a plea to all of our people that we should pay very close attention to that first Africa CARICOM summit and all of the commitments that came out of that summit. We should keep a focus on that and make sure that we bring everything to fruition, because this is a time, Pearson, when as a people and as a nation we really have to go forward. These are very challenging times, and a week ago we looked east towards Africa to see how we could consolidate that relationship. Over the weekend, we looked west towards our Latin American, our Central and South American brothers and sisters, with the CELAC, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, and to see how we could consolidate that relationship as well. So I think these are very, very important initiatives. If we're going to make our way in this very difficult world, it is going to be critical that we come together on both sides of the Atlantic. We are kind of in a favored position. We're kind of in the middle. So we look east to Africa, we look west to our Central and South American brothers and sisters. Let's consolidate relationships and make them work for us.
And no doubt you're central to all of this, because you assist us in understanding it better through our conversations on CARICOM. Ambassador David Comichaw, we got to leave it there. But a busy week ahead for you and the members of the Foreign Ministry. I wish you only the very best as Barbados benefits from your activities and your work. Thank you so much for joining us again, sir.
Much appreciated, Pearson. Thanks.
You're very welcome. Ambassador to CARICOM, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comichaw, in our conversations on CARICOM. We'll take a break here. When we're back, we meet another one of our outstanding ambassadors, this time in the United Arab Emirates.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
12 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock as we go across the world and we meet with Barbados' newly installed ambassador to the United Arab Emirates in His Excellency Gabriel Abed. Good morning to you, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados.
Thank you for joining us. I'll quote you. You said, "I go forward with a multitude of objectives on paper and Barbados in my heart," end quote. How has it been for you since you've been there in the United Arab Emirates?
It's been very interesting, and to be honest, it's a very pleasurable experience because the United Arab Emirates poses a new way of thinking for our nation. This part of the world has a capability to think big and do big, and they have rightfully done so. And that lends for a lot of lessons that we can take back home in Barbados and implement from our small little island nation.
So let's go through this list of things on paper that you've, these objectives on paper, and let's do a checklist. What are some of the critical areas that you think your posting there can redound to the benefit of Barbados?
Very good question. And it really boils down to one of the key areas, which is foreign direct investment. Barbados stands to benefit greatly from this part of the world in how we source FDI. And as we know, it's this form of foreign direct investment that will go a long way to building the infrastructure and building the capabilities that Barbados needs to move to the next level. We can look at infrastructure from the development of our ports to the development of new university and educational structures, new hotels, and a range of other things from desalination plants all the way down to even offshore islands. So that's probably one of the highest areas of interest when looking at the Middle East and how it can definitely benefit our nation state. Beyond that, of course, it's the bilateral relationships that come with the diplomatic endeavors of our government as we head east and we look to expand our relationships with other nations where we previously did not have any form of diplomatic or diplomacy previously in the past. In addition to that, the FDI and the relationships, is the technology capacity. The United Arab Emirates is known for its advancement in the adoption of technology and technology-driven processes, that from the corporate sector and within the government sector. So Barbados stands to benefit from the sharing, the lessons, and the knowledge from this part of the world. And of course, we can take such technologies and implement them at home to drive greater efficiencies and greater solutions, which ultimately end in bringing better performance and better value for the citizens of our nation.
You say you see the future of diplomacy to be technology diplomacy. For the average Barbadian watching and listening at the moment, they're wondering, what's that? How does that play out? What can you say?
Without giving away too much until protocol and process is completed, it's a way of taking a traditional field and adding new layers or a modern vehicle to that. So when we think of diplomacy, currently and traditionally, diplomacy was very paper-based, it was very antiquated, and it has certain costs and inefficiencies applied to it. So when we think about having a diplomatic mission, that mission can be very costly to our government. And as a small nation state, we can't afford to have diplomatic relationships in every single country across the world. While that would be extremely beneficial to us, it is not cost effective. And if we start implementing new layers of technology in this new field, or in this existing field rather, it can result in massive and dramatic cost cutting. It can result in more efficiencies driven around how we enact our diplomatic relationships, and it can allow us to greatly expand the relationships we have with nearly every nation across the globe. And this is very important for us because, as we have rightly outlined, the need for Barbados to be friends of all and satellites of none, a quote of the Honorable Elton Walton Barrow. It's very true in this vein, but the problem in the past was the cost to have that capability to be friends with all. So when we look at applying the new fields of technology in the old traditional world of diplomacy, it allows us to enhance the way that we build relationships and to do it in a way that's dramatically more cost effective for our nation state.
And you're no stranger to technology or at all, because you were the man at the front of BIT, the cryptocurrencies and the whole use really of blockchain technology within the Caribbean and by use of the central banks in the OECS in particular. So leveraging what you know, what your experience is in the United Arab Emirates, how has that been for you so far?
Well, it's certainly been a easy way to get a trajectory to the top. If we were just coming here to discuss the traditional norms of diplomacy, I don't believe the reception would have been as great as we're getting right now. It's because of this being on the frontier of technology that the conversations are expansive and they're grand, and the ideas that we're bringing from little Barbados to a very lucrative nation like the United Arab Emirates has been greatly beneficial to our nation, in that we are able to have much more conducive conversations, in that the arrangements to have a desire to meet are much higher, and in that our offering is one of showing that we are a pioneering nation. We are a nation of thinkers. We are a nation of intellects, which Barbados is and always has been. Now it's just applying a new level of that intellect on a new frontier side of the market. So this is in essence a form of commercial diplomacy enacted in a way and in a part of the world that is extremely receptive to it. So the response has been very positive, and the outcome is looking to be something that should be greatly beneficial to our nation.
Speaking of being beneficial to our nation, upcoming is a World Trade Expo in next year, starting in January for us in Barbados, Barbados Day being January 13th, connecting minds, creating the future. This Expo 2020 that will be held in Dubai. Tell us what are some of the tangible benefits from Barbados' involvement in this?
The tangible benefits from Barbados' involvement in this is to showcase us to the world. The expos are where the entire world transcends to show their offerings and what they're about. And this is a way for us to show our cultural, our sports, our investments, our products, and really tell the world, this is what little Barbados has to offer. We are more than sun, beach, and sand. We are a place that has active business. We are a place of production. We are a place of creation. And this is a way for Barbados to show the world that, and to increase the type of value that we're able to gain. Of course, we want to be able to showcase our tourism product, which is one of the greatest offerings that Barbados has to give. But beyond that, Barbados also has products, whether it be our rum or our carved wood or various other products coming out of our nation. It's a way to show the entire world what this is and how we plan to go about it. So it's really putting Barbados on the map and allowing everyone to come and see it. And the tangible benefits to us are, of course, an increase in tourism, but more so an increase in international business, foreign direct investment, and international cooperation, which is critical right now for our nation.
How exciting is this posting for you, Ambassador Abed?
It's extremely exciting, Pearson, to go from the private market to one where you're honorably representing your nation, and you're able to do so in a part of the world that is extremely respected, while also being a part of the world where we previously had no diplomatic relationships. It's a whole new undertaking, and it's one where I believe, alongside our government, that this should be extremely fruitful for our nation. And knowing that the potential to impact positively your home country, your birthplace, it's a humbling experience, and one where I endeavor to bring great results. And the objective is to bring the maximum value and utility to our nation. So all of that combined, it's a privilege, to say the least. It comes with its its drawbacks in that establishing a new embassy is a cumbersome task, but one where the support from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has been amazing. Working with the various components of our government, I've already had meetings with the Immigration of Barbados, the Ministry of Labor, and various other ministries from that of education all the way down, and they're all. It's amazing to see our government in play. It's quite amazing to see a unified government willing to act and support the growth of our nation's potential, and being able to move away from the private sector into this role. As I said earlier, it's rather humbling, and one as well that is exciting because of the value that can be brought, and that really is the core agenda here. It's bringing immense value home.
You know, you're no stranger to us here at Morning Barbados, lending your experience in technology over the years, and certainly we want to celebrate your achievement as now Barbados Ambassador to the United Arab Emirates. His Excellency Gabriel Abed, thank you so much for joining us. Much success with your stint there, sir. And we look forward to excellence coming from your contribution on behalf of Barbados in the United Arab Emirates. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearson. And good morning, Barbados.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados will continue right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 1 minute after 7 o'clock. Time for us to take another look at the news. Here's Wendy Burke.
Thank you, Pearson. Regional trade unions representing former employees of the cash-strapped regional airline LIAT say they've rejected the latest offer by Caribbean shareholder governments to meet their financial obligations to the laid-off workers. President of the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, Donald Rowe, said that the regional unions are united in seeking 100% of the millions of dollars owed to the workers. Meanwhile, the compassionate severance being proposed by the Antiguan government to the former pilots of LIAT 1974 Limited has been described as unappealing. A recent meeting saw the administrators offering 30% in cash, 20% bonds, and 50% in land. Patterson Thompson, the Barbadian president of the Pilots Union, LIALPA, says an alternative is that of a credit shell.
If you had land, you may be able to sell the land quicker. But here again, land is it's not a seller's market, it's a buyer's market, and nobody has cash. So this is where a credit shell may be a better option for people, where they can now purchase things without paying the duty. They may be able to get a business. They may be able to apply it to utilities. People need water, light, gas, and these kind of things. So it may be able to apply to that. The mindset or the vision with it in Antigua is that you'll be offered X amount of money, let's say free of duty. Let's say you had a vehicle, or maybe you wanted to bring a truck to move more, you're transporting stuff. You're able to buy the truck, but you will not get the duties. So you will strike those duties. Let's say you had $40,000 in the credit shell. You will strike off all the various duties and the levies on bringing that vehicle, and you will then get the particular cost. I anticipate that is how it will be sold.
Chairman of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Edward Clark, believes it will take about 10 years for Barbados to recover economically if there's another shutdown due to COVID-19. Prime Minister Mayor Amor Motley has reiterated that another lockdown is not on the cards. And Mr. Clark, who was the guest on last evening's TV8 program, One-on-One, by the Public Affairs Department, is hoping that the plan remains in place. He notes it would be devastating for the country's economy. Meanwhile, Mr. Clark suggests Barbados invest in the digital market, as there's a need to find opportunities to grow and diversify the economy.
We need to understand where we're going as a country, as a growth for the country itself. Pre-COVID, there was a lot of thought about a lot of heavy tourism investment, even medical tourism investment, other things like that, educational tourism investment. We have seen a sort of a stalling of that, a slowdown of that. We need to find ways to help grow this economy on the digital side, especially the services related side. I think we have to use our educational system a lot better to generate the services that are required globally. You only got to look around and see the 12-month stampers that moved to Barbados. Almost every single one of them, at least one of them, and sometimes two of them in that household are working on island, offshore, providing services offshore to their clients. We need to be able to do the same. We need to be able to compete in that market. So now it's not it's not a physical and a concrete structure that is selling. We need to be able to provide services to the global market and get known in that global market space. So we as a country need to be able to get that opportunity and go there.
Officials of the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund are warning many children in Afghanistan will die if urgent aid isn't received in short order.
Gasping for air, this child is in critical condition, but there's no ventilator at this hospital in Kabul. She's among thousands of newborns here in Afghanistan who desperately need immediate treatment.
As you see it here, is a child who is extremely premature, and he needs a constant supply of oxygen and appropriate temperature in order to survive. And in the absence of resources, we wouldn't have oxygen.
Incubators in this ward are in poor shape. There's shortage of masks, gloves, medicine and baby food. Hervé Delis is the UNICEF representative in Afghanistan. He is visiting this hospital to see what are the most urgent needs. Delis is struggling to address the ever-growing needs of health facilities in Afghanistan. And with each passing day, Afghan children are dying of disease and malnutrition.
Well, there is always life at the end of the tunnel. And that's why we do what we do. If there was no life at the end of the tunnel, we will not be here. Can't take this.
Government officials have other priorities. Taliban leaders are desperate for international recognition and financial assistance. But Afghanistan's big donors remain skeptical of the Taliban. In the meantime, the health system is on the verge of collapse. Doctors and nurses are brave. They work long hours, but they are short-staffed and overwhelmed with the number of children who are treated here every day and who suffer from measles and malnutrition. And in many cases, because they don't have the right equipment, they are struggling to find the right words to tell the parents that their children may not make it tomorrow.
And that's news. We now leave you with Pearson Boeing and Morning Barbados.
Thank you, Wendy. The stories of babies really tug at your heart. It's 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. We'll take a break here. And when we're back, it'll be time for you to answer today's Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 10 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for you to call me now on 228-5562 or 228-5563 because I have a question for you in today's Crumbs Question of the Day. So are you ready? 228-5562 or 5563. That question is, what are Crispy Fried Chicken's opening hours? Or as I would say, what are the opening hours for Crispy Fried Chicken? What are Crispy Fried Chicken's opening hours? 228-5562 or 228-5563. So call me now. Let's give you something delicious from Crispy's Fried Chicken today. So what are the opening hours for Crispy's Fried Chicken? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Remember, Crispy Fried Chicken has those seasoned fries that are really delicious. You can either get the baked, the barbecue, or the it's just delicious. It's just truly delicious. The snap boxes are big and you get quite a bit in the snap box as well. So check out Crispy's today. But what are the opening hours for Crispy's Fried Chicken? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Answer correctly and you are today's winner of our Crumbs Question of the Day. Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning, Pearson.
Hi, Parish, you watching us from, sir?
St. Michael.
I know that. What's your answer?
7:30.
Your answer is wrong.
Okay, goodbye.
All right, buddy. No problem. Thanks. 228-5562 or 228-5563. You can call me from any parish on this island. Any parish on this island. We've so far in all my time hardly had one call from St. Lucie. What happened? Good morning to you. Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hi, parish, you watching from?
St. Andrew.
St. Andrew, good morning to you. And what's your answer?
Monday, Thursday from 10 to 7, Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Do you work there?
No.
You want to answer my question? It's not an answer. You don't work there. So where did you get that answer from?
I listen to it all the time.
You listen to the ads on Crispy Fried Chicken all the time.
Yeah.
And so you said to me Monday to Thursday it is
10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And then on the other days it would be
10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Are you sure?
I think so.
No, I can't work what I think. I can't work what I think.
Yes.
So Nadia, folks, you're going to have to give me some guidance on this answer here. Because this lady from St. Andrew is mighty close. I wait to hear from you, production too. All right, they tell me be generous. I give it to you. It's really 10 to 8, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I'll live with that. You stay on the phone, all right? We'll take some other information from you. In answering correctly, the opening hours for Crispy Fried Chicken are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And of course, when you go to Crispy Fried Chicken in town or in Spikestown, you will get some really delicious offerings. So check it out today. That's it for today's Crumbs Question of the Day. We're taking a break here and we're back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 14.5 minutes after 7 o'clock. Our next guest is a trade policy specialist and was recently appointed Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Cannabis Licensing Authority. Dr. Chantal Monroe-Knight, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well today. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. It's a good morning so far.
That's great to know. And that's just a little bit about what you have been able to achieve thus far. But you're also lead for this week's Global Forum on Civil Society. So talk to me a little bit about what we can expect from the 22nd to the 24th in the lead up to UNTAD 15.
Okay, great. So we're having that civil society forum, as you indicated, over that period, the 22nd to the 24th. And of course, we've been speaking to other forum leads, so everybody knows that it's going to be a virtual platform. But there are some critical issues for civil society that's going to be on the agenda. And if you've had any engagement, with civil society, we know that we're very passionate, about the issues that concern us. And one of those kinds of key issues is going to be the issues of trade and development. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, people often ask, why is civil society concerned about these, what might be considered as macro issues, right? Mm-hmm. How does that impact civil society? Isn't that just a government discussion? And the answer is no. Trade impacts all of us. How governments negotiate trade agreements, how they decide what is the basis of what is going to be determined is important. Because as citizens, we have a right to be able to know the terms that are going to guide how we live, how we have to interact with other international states. And that goes beyond administrations. Yeah? Yes. So an administration may come in, within a 5-year term, but they are locked into something that was agreed before. It has an impact on how government distributes resources. So as civil society, these issues are important for us. The issues of debt is important. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the other issues that is going to be discussed over the 22nd to the 24th during this Global Civil Society Forum. And I do want to say Global Civil Society Forum. As much as possible, we really also want to ensure that Barbadians and persons from the Caribbean civil society participate. This is the first time that we are having such a forum within a small island developing state, Barbados. First time. And therefore, the issues are especially critical for us, especially close to us. And one of the kind of overarching themes that this civil society forum will be speaking about, and you will see it coming through, is what is the impact of SIDS, of these issues. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that is going to be something that we are going to push because we are a small island development state. And there are particular vulnerabilities for us that whether we talk about trade, it's going to be a different context for developed countries as opposed to the developing countries, and then even for small island development states. And person, that's one of the reasons that one of the other core issues is climate change, climate justice as we call it, and sustainability. And I see for the Youth Forum, which happened just last week, that was also one of the critical issues, and you're going to see it come up again in the Civil Society Forum, which I'm hoping gives people a clue in terms of why this issue is so important. When we think about the blue economy, when we think about the green economy, when we think about energy resources, when we think about climate change, disasters, and the impact that those things have on us, it should point to how important this issue of climate justice is, right? And when we talk about climate justice, particularly for civil society, it is an acknowledgement that small and developing states contribute very little to that carbon footprint. Yeah? But still we feel the impact the greatest. And so when we talk about climate justice, we're also talking about what is the allocation of resources to help us do mitigation. How do we build resilient societies? Are resources shared fairly? Is there an acknowledgement for small and developing states that there is a differential impact? Yeah? So we want to be able to explore all of these. We want to talk about that notion of resilience building, which is extremely important, yeah? And resilience building is really about a strengthening of the fundamentals of a society, economically, politically, and culturally as well. And what does it take to build that resilience for small and developing states? Tied up in all of that is that whole issue of technology transfer as well. We're living in a digital age. I think one of the things, person, that has happened in the context of COVID, is that recognition that we're living very much in a digital space.
As you and I are right now.
Exactly, right? Yes. But think about it. I mean, Barbados, has a very well-developed kind of, technology sphere. We're looking at corporate affairs now that's going digital, and, different things are happening. But all countries, all small and developing states, doesn't have the same infrastructure. Yeah. And what we have here has allowed us to be able to operate at a fairly high level. Right. But when you think about other Caribbean states and other developing countries, unless we have a framework that provides for fair transfer of that technology, then some countries could be more behind than others. So all of these issues are going to be very critical over those 3 days from the 22nd to the 24th. Yeah. And like I said, civil society does not hold back. So people can look forward to a very, very passionate discussion. We are going to be having panelists, like I said, it's a really global framework. The actual civil society partner here who is working on the Civil Society Forum is the Caribbean Policy Development Center, CPDC. It's based in Barbados. It's a regional NGO. And they've been working with a global facilitation committee made up of NGO partners from the Pacific, from Africa, from Europe, etc., to really put some legs on the agenda. And they've been very, very concerned to make sure that there is substantive debate, right? Which is extremely critical for civil society, not wishy-washy, but that we look at the very hardcore issues. Person, I've said already that we have to ensure that people understand the processes that are governing how we live and also have a say in those processes. Right. So one of the things that you will see coming out of the Civil Society Forum is a declaration as well, which will try to put on the table our viewpoints around these issues that I've talked about. I'm talking for a lot.
No, I want you to tell me. That's all right. That's all right. It was interesting listening to you because I think everyone needs to be able to hear what will be so that they can see that they too have a seat at this global table. And because it's being done virtually in the most part, that any and everyone from any and everywhere can add to this. And I know you don't necessarily want people just to come in and ape, but to actually engage. As a civil society, every single person is a member of civil society, and so every single person has an invitation to be a part of this global conference, this global forum from the 22nd to the 24th. So talk us through how we can participate.
Right. So if you go on the UNCTAD Civil Society site, so there are two places that you can go to interface, right? So from the Barbados Secretariat site, there's a website there. But once you put in UNCTAD Civil Society, it will take you to a page which provides you with information. And then I think on your horrible at direction, I think it's on your right hand side, you will see a registration button. Sorry,
That's all right.
there should be a registration button, and that registration button will take you through how to be able to register, to be able to participate in the civil society forum. And again, person, as you said, every single member. So we want people from, if you belong to churches, please come on. The issues, like I said, of debt and technology transfer and how we're doing trade and climate justice are not just issues for everybody else. The issues for the church to be involved. If you are a woman or a man, these issues impact. The issues of gender are very critical. There will be a separate gender forum. But we want to make sure that within the civil society forum as well, that we don't lose sight of that. That when we talk about trade agreements, when we talk about that, there are differential consequences for men and for women as well. For even persons with disabilities as well, we want to see them involved and engaged in the discussion. I mean, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but certainly from my perspective, sometimes, they don't always have the seat at the table that they should. This Global Civil Society Forum is broad enough and wide enough to involve everyone who wants to be able to participate. So we're really inviting people to be able to register. As the forum starts, you will see every day they will put, if you look at the UNCTAD social media, and which has been really, really good. Really, really thanks to the colleagues from the Secretariat here, Shara Marshall and her team. You will see every day they will post agenda, who's on, what's happening, who's speaking. You can expect to see at the beginning of that an address by our own Prime Minister, the Honorable and some other officials will also be on. So again, it's a really, really powerful space to engage. One of the things that UNCTAD, particularly for civil society, has done is to really provide that strategic space. Civil society and now the gender forums are the only two forums that are actually mainstream person into the actual conference.
Wow.
So while the others, the forum ends, their space will end. Civil society will continue to engage in the actual conference when member states meet, and that is critical so that we are then able to continue to engage with our policymakers.
All right, so from inequality and vulnerability to prosperity for all, the Civil Society Forum is the 22nd to the 24th. Go to untad15.org participation and you can participate. Register now, everyone, to be a part of this. It is a very important forum, and it's a forum that is available to every single person, wherever you are. You don't have to have a title to be a part of the forum. You just have to be and be a part of the forum. Dr. Chantal Monroe-Knight, lead for this global forum. Thank you so much for joining us and exciting us, really, as we get ready for this forum coming up. Thank you.
Thank you as well, Preston. Have a good day. Enjoy.
Likewise. Thank you. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
28 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock now, as we turn our attention to the International Week of Deaf People. And I say that deliberately, deaf people, because deaf people will rather be called simply that, deaf people, and not simply hearing impaired. And we're joined this morning by the founder of the Deaf Heart Project, Shay Greenwich. Good morning to you, Shay.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you? You're doing so well. You got it right. Deaf people.
That's right, deaf people.
Yes.
That's important because they must be identified for who they are, not seen to be just some abject area or some abject group of our society.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes for persons who are non-deaf, we might think that it might sound a little bit harsh to say deaf people or a deaf school, but that's part of their identity. That's what they identify as, and we need to respect that. So I am proud of you this morning, Pearson, for acknowledging that. Good job.
Thank you, Shay. And so the Deaf Heart Project, what's that about?
Well, the Deaf Heart Project is a charity that I would have started back in 2019. And basically, our mission is really just to connect the deaf and the hearing world. It just seems like there's so much isolation, but there's so much more room for equal integration. So our mission is to really bring the two groups together harmoniously, Pearson, and to also create opportunities that would, give them a better chance for, quality education, employment, advocacy, more public awareness, and that's what we're all about. We're simply here as the equipping agency of the deaf. That's what we like to call ourselves, and they're the ones who really lead and guide us.
And that's so important. And following on from the previous interview I had with Dr. Chantal Monroe with the Civil Society Forum coming up, there is a place at the table for the Deaf Heart Project as well, to be able to speak on behalf of those who are deaf. And that's so important that they are heard and not be put aside and be told to be quiet. And that's where your project comes into play. So how does this work? How does it day to day, minute by minute, moment by moment work for the Deaf Heart Project?
Well, I mean, we have so many other little things going on, Pearson, and how it works for us is really having a core group of deaf individuals. I mean, we communicate almost every single day. We text on WhatsApp, we video call as well on WhatsApp, and they just guide us. We check in with them, especially during the global pandemic and when we were having national lockdowns. We were always checking in. Okay, like, what do you guys need? How are you doing? And what are the issues that you're facing right now? So for example, having a mask, we know that that's a really big issue, and that's something that we've tried to work on with them. Another area would have been providing care packages during that time, because a lot of people might not know, but deaf persons don't have equal employment opportunities. Because when they leave school, Pearson, they're not leaving school with academic qualifications. They're already disadvantaged before they even get into the world of work. So a lot of the support that we want to offer them is to change that, to provide those opportunities, to make people more aware, make employers more aware. And I want to just say a special shout out to organizations and companies like Massey this morning who provide opportunities like this for persons. And we need more of this. We need more awareness, we need more change, and we need more inclusion, Pearson. And that is what this entire week is about. Just making people we're doing and what the deaf need and how they overcome as well.
Then we need to hear the stories. We need to be able to document those stories. We need to keep those stories at the forefront. Is that also a part of your effort in this International Week of Deaf People?
Absolutely, Pearson. Today's theme is all about stories. Well, there you go. You guys can see it on your screen. We're celebrating thriving deaf communities, and today we're looking to cherish deaf history. Now, the thing is, we don't have a lot of the history documented, and the other problem is that other people do not know about deaf history because of the barrier to communication, So how are you going to know the story if you can't even have a conversation with them? For me, coming into the deaf community and being embraced by them, that is when I learned firsthand what's happening to them every single day. Pearson, I will never forget. One time there was a deaf friend of mine. He's about my age, 27, 28, close to 30. And he said to me, Pearson, that he doesn't think about his future.
Mm.
And he doesn't think about his future because he has none, because
Wow.
he's deaf and he lives in Barbados.
Wow.
And my heart just broke because there's not a day that goes by where I'm not thinking about, what I want to do next, what I want to pursue. And these are everyday things that we don't have to think about. I don't have to think about going into a bank and having challenges there. I don't have to think about anything like that.
Yes.
But it's the small things that we take for granted that they're challenged with every single day. The deaf in Barbados, every day is a fight. Every day is a fight. But I just wanted to start this organization so that they know that they don't have to fight alone. And as your previous interview just said, civil society organizations, we have a lot to say, and there's a lot that needs to be done. And we're here to make sure that this deaf representation and Pearson, it's not about just me coming later on this week. I would love to have even deaf persons come and speak for themselves. Because we have to learn more about it from them. Here at the Deaf Heart Project, we do not ever take it upon ourselves to determine a course of action for them or to say anything on their behalf. They're more than capable, Pearson, trust me. They are more than capable to tell you what they're thinking, tell you what they're feeling. But today, Pearson, I'm here to celebrate with them International Week of Deaf People. They are a deaf group who are strong, who are resilient. I really want to shout out the Deaf Women's Club as well this morning because I see how they overcome every day. These are women with children who are struggling with employment. So imagine pre-COVID, they were already having challenges finding jobs. So you can just get that idea, Pearson, about how it has been over the past 18 months for the deaf community. And we just need people to be more aware of what's happening. And this week, we are putting together so many different activities. A lot of it is going to be virtual on our social media pages, etc. But every day we just want people to learn a little bit more. Maybe even start to learn the language, learn how to sign. There's so many ways that we can get involved and show support. And I assure you, the deaf are always so happy when people take even the slightest, smallest step to show that they care. And that's how Deaf Heart even started. That's what Deaf Heart even means, to have a heart for the deaf, to consider their well-being as well.
So very quickly, just tell me how the week will unfold. Today is a day of sensitization and awareness.
Yes, every single day is a day of sensitization and awareness. The week has different themes every single day, and persons will be learning more about the week and the activities during that period of time. And this is something that is set across the world, Pearson. Deaf Heart Project did not come up with this week on its own. This is celebrated globally by millions of deaf people and persons with deaf heart around the world. And we're just joining with them and making sure that the deaf in Barbados are not left out.
Right. So at Deaf Heart Barbados, you can go onto social medias, folks, and you can see day by day those daily reminders that hopefully they affect your heart and they affect your understanding and eventually affect your actions as you interact with people who are deaf. And I realize that they are too human beings who have a heart that beat like ours and they have a reason to contribute, and they must be respected equally. I'm very passionate about people with different abilities, as you probably know already, Shay. We've spoken before. So for me it is so critical that we open our heart and embrace by understanding and by then effecting that change. Shay, I want to thank you so much, and we're happy here at Mornin Barbados to work along with the Deaf Heart Project with you to meet more of them and to hear from them too in their own words, what they're experiencing and what they want us to know too about them. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I just want to say thank you too, Pearson, to you and to Nadia and the entire team. You guys are always supportive of the deaf, and I don't take that lightly, and trust me, the deaf don't take that lightly either, so thank you.
You're very welcome, Shay. Thank you so much. Former Miss Barbados, Shay Greenwich, right here. She's the founder of the Deaf Heart Project. What a great objective. Deaf Heart Barbados. Find them on social media and follow along. We're coming back after this with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, we love to reach and meet Bajans of our Bajans doing exceptional work across the world and making us all feel very proud. We're heading to Miami right now to meet this Bajan man. He's Dr. Leslie Dean, who's a Barbadian living in Miami. There he is. He's also a professor of urology at the University of Miami. Dr. Dean, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson, and morning, Barbados. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much. It's your mother who put us on to you, by the way, in case you didn't know. She says, hey, you're doing a segment with me. I have a son. He's doing some great work. Your mother is immensely proud of you.
Yes, she is. Both my parents are. My family is immensely proud as well. And that's very special.
That's great. You went to school at Eden Lodge Nursery, then on to St. Winifred's, then to Queen's College, then to the University of the West Indies. And there you are in Miami. How did that journey end in Miami for you?
Good question. I wanted to be closer to Barbados. After I finished my training in Toronto, I moved to the University of California at Irvine in Orange County, and then I spent 11 years in Chicago. The Chicago winters were getting a little rough for a young fellow from the Caribbean, so I aimed to get to Miami, and I ended up here.
So the climate was one of the factors that really attracted you to Miami.
Yes.
But you've been doing some great work in urology because you're also an invasive robotic surgeon and endourologist on faculty there at the University of Miami. Talk to us a little bit about that specialty.
So endourology is a subspecialty of urology, as is robotic urologic surgery. Endourology basically means that we use very small telescopes to access various cavities in the urinary tract so that we can maintain a minimally invasive approach. And robotic surgery is the coalescence of a lot of mechanical engineering work and computer science that brings a robot into the surgical field that facilitates the work that the surgeon has to do, basically ending up with a minimally invasive approach to surgery.
What was this? You were the recipient of the Merck, Sharp, and Dom Clinical Prize in Medicine. What's that about?
So that is a clinical prize in the University of the West Indies School of Clinical Medicine and Research for one of the top students in internal medicine examinations at the final MBBS.
Okay. So how's life for you though, a Barbadian there in the midst of a pandemic, doing some great work in urology and just trying to keep your head above water? How's that been going for you?
It's a challenge, particularly with the restriction posed by the COVID measures. Certainly in terms of continuing with our surgical practices, hospitals at one point during the pandemic had closed elective surgery to maintain capacity for sick patients with COVID. But we've managed to do pretty well. We basically have been masking up and distancing for 20 plus months now, and I think that has really helped me as an individual and those close to me.
But we hear the horror stories on the international press coming out of the United States that speak a lot to the hospitals. They're being overwhelmed by the number of cases. Has that impacted you in that way as well?
The hospitals that I work in have been full on a cyclic basis. So when there was the surge, the hospitals became full, and then as things quietened down, we resumed normal activities in terms of elective surgeries, in terms of seeing patients. But we made a significant transition to virtual visits for patients, where we see patients via an interface much like what you are speaking to me on right now. And that has facilitated continuum of care.
What do you think from your experience there in Miami that we can learn here in Barbados? What do you think that would be the lesson?
With regards specifically to the pandemic?
Yeah, about the pandemic and just medicine in general.
Really good question. I think that the University of the West Indies is a fantastic institution that trains exceptional doctors who are in the Caribbean or abroad. I would trade my University of the West Indies education for an education anywhere else in the world. Specifically, as it relates to the pandemic, I think it's important to realize that the approach has to be a multifaceted approach. No one thing is going to help. So a combination of wearing a mask, physical distancing when appropriate, being in populations that are vaccinated are the most important things that we can do to see ourselves through this and put this behind us.
So Leslie Dean, do you stay in touch with what's happening in Barbados? Are you still also enjoying the sound of Barbados? Are you following Barbadian news? How are you staying connected?
I stay connected by speaking with family and friends on a very regular basis. I follow the news in Barbados. Obviously, social media in the form of Twitter is important. Yes. So at Barbados is a great resource handle on Twitter.
When was the last time you were home?
Last time I was home was just before the pandemic started at the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. And I've sort of been reluctant to travel. My parents are older, and I don't want to risk anything in terms of them getting sick.
What do you miss most about Barbados?
I miss the culture. I miss the music, family, seeing friends, sort of old talk as we would call it.
Yes.
And obviously the food.
So if you were to arrive in Barbados this very minute, land at Grantley Adams International Airport, where is the first place you'd like to go, and what's the first thing you'd like to eat?
I would probably stop by Cutters and get a rum punch. Or there's this other rum punch at Gary's down in Black Rock. I think those are two places, and certainly retest the waters with a good macaroni pie.
Aye, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Dr. Dean, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been our immense pleasure meeting you, Dr. Leslie Dean, who's a professor of urology at the University of Miami, a Barbadian donor. So very proud out there, doing great work in your chosen field of profession. So we want to thank you. I wish you all the very best.
Thanks so much, Pearson. Same to you.
You're very welcome. Dr. Leslie Dean, old scholar of Queen's College. You can claim him as yours. That's all right. But of course, a Barbadian from afar. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, we'll catch up with the designer, Caramel Wear.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 11 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. We are so excited about everything she's been able to do so far. Caramel Ware, good morning to you. Fashion designer, you, fashionista. How are you?
I am fantastic. Good morning, Barbados.
Listen, the last time we were together, right, I kept thinking, I know that name. I've seen this name somewhere before, and I questioned myself, and I dare not say it. But then when I finished the show, I went to this lady, and I said, hold on. Yes. Is this your friend? She says, yes. You know who I'm talking about, Villy Scant.
Yes, please.
Thank you for introducing me to Caramel. Caramel, you have done great. We are so proud of you. How did the show go?
This was a fantastic experience. Very high-paced.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm still getting goose pimples from it. Every time I think back of the experience, it was fantastic. I have not regretted it at all.
Oh, that is sweet. So you need to walk us through step by step. So you landed in New York, and the show was just a matter of days away. And
yes, please. We got to the hotel, and oh gosh, just the ambience in the hotel alone was breathtaking. You see all the different designers, all the different models, and everyone coming in and getting themselves checked in and settled. And then you have persons then like going through their different little paces, because there were different shows throughout that whole week at varying hotels, including the one I was at, which is the Stewart Hotel. So from like the Friday, they were having shows going on and such like. So ours kind of climaxed on the Sunday.
Right.
So the hotel was just a bustle with all these different designers and all these exquisite pieces.
You were scared, right?
Yeah, because, you know, I will be very honest with you, Pearson. For me now, trying to get back into this aspect of fashion designing and stuff like that, financially it is challenging, you know, because you have this vision in your head of what you want to do, you know, but financially you cannot make the grade that you want, but you work with what you have,
right?
You know, and still put something there that you can showcase. So I was feeling a bit intimidated when I saw all these nice ball gowns and all the sequins and, you know, the nice pomp and pageantry of the outfits that these other designers were displaying. But when it came then to my show on the Sunday, you know, when I arrive in the dressing room and I start to unbag my pieces, I was like, if you see the models, these young ladies were rushing to fit my clothes and stuff like that. And they're asking, like, where are you from? I'm from Barbados. And it's like, oh, this is nice and this, and I want to fit in this. And the only regret I have with it is that there were not enough models to model my pieces, because, as I said, I cater for plus size women.
Right.
And most of them were like the little petite models and stuff. There was one lady, she actually pinned the dress onto her because she says, I am taking this down this catwalk.
Wow.
Because it had a nice hat and bag with the outfit, and what caught her was the detail. This lady here in this dress, what caught her was the two-bow detailing at the back of the dress. She loved it, and she says, sweetheart, get some pins and we're going to pin this dress in on me, and I'm taking it down the catwalk. So yes, please.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, look at these designs. These are really fresh, they're different, and they are beautiful.
Yes. That's what they said, because everyone comes basically with the same sequins and the ball gowns, and, you know, so mine is like everyday kind of wear, and you can fit it into any event that you want to go to and so forth. Yeah. So that's what really enthused them to come over to my table and try to fit the clothes and stuff like that. And
look at this.
The one or two ladies. Yes, this is my showstopper piece that took everyone's breath away. Because when I on back, because I was bustling about trying to get everyone into the clothes and see what fits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to run back to the dressing room and change into this showstopper piece. So it's like when I came out then into the foyer, everybody was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. This is exquisite. One guy, he came to me and said, oh, this is unique, my darling. You know? So he actually wanted to purchase it from me.
Yes.
You know, and stuff. I said, this is my signature piece. So, you know, this is my baby right now, because this is the first time that I am getting into bridal.
Mm-hmm.
And also getting into lingerie. So the few pieces that you saw there were my first attempt at doing lingerie and stuff. I had other pieces, but like I said, because of the body types of the models, they weren't looking the way how I wanted them to look, so I refused to put them on the catwalk.
And that's fair. So what did you, Caramel, what did you learn from this experience?
This experience is, like I say, you have to have the finances to really push it. That is one aspect, because it's like your materials, your machinery to give you certain effects that you want with your materials and stuff like that. Those things are costly. You know, so for a person starting out, you have to look at the financial part of it, right? And then networking, because I made contact with other designers to see how they go about their business of producing their pieces and such like. You know, I have made contact with 1 or 2 haberdasheries here in Brooklyn, because I left Manhattan. I'm here at my mom now. And I made some contact with persons that has haberdasheries, because when we compare the comparative of the prices here and home, they are more accessible. So I can work with the pricing of what is here more so than home, because I get more for my dollar with what is here. So it'll be easier for me then to really produce the pieces and stuff that I want to, or to elevate this business to the standard and to the level that I want it to be at.
You know what we're looking for now next from you? Get it into some magazines, get it on, splash it across your social media, get it out there, Caramel.
Yes, because what I have done, because of the slight disappointment of not having the whole line being displayed, I have made contact with Topaz Model Agency at home. Where we will do now a full photo shoot of the complete line, and go that route then of marketing my designs and stuff internationally.
Caramel, we are so proud of you, girl. We are so proud.
Yes.
You know, we're following your journey all the way through. So what's the next big biggie that you have on the plan, apart from the Topaz event?
Right, I am looking at going to Trinidad in December also, to the same Beautiful You fashion tour. They're having theirs in Trinidad. So I'm looking at going there, do a whole new line again, and go there and present, you know. But I'm currently at BCC, getting my certification in the fashion designing, because that's my first step. Because a lot of what I know is by trial and error. You know, I have these ideas, so I try to put together my pieces, but like the intricate detail of getting into the designing and stuff like that, that's what I want to do. And from there now, I am going on to do my associate degree in the fashion designing. I would decide whether I would do it at BCC or if I would do it here in the US. And then I'm looking then at launching my school.
You got a plan, girl. You got a big plan. You got a big plan. We will connect on all of those plans another time. But Caramel, thank you for joining us today. We watched you, we saw you, we are happy for you, and we want only the best for you. Best luck going forward, all right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Write down the name, everybody. That's Caramel Weir. Caramel, W-E-I-R. Fashion designer extraordinaire, Allure Chic Couture is her business. Check them out. Thank you, Caramel. Take care.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Bye.
All right. Before we go, we just want to let you know we did an appeal to you on the weekend last, and we asked you to help Amunike Gomez. you raised it. You did it. You did it, Barbados. And so he's gone off to, at least he's covered his first year's expense. We're looking for your assistance for his continued support. So continue contributing to the success of this young man, Amunike Gomez. He's headed off to New York to complete his studies, and he's going to do us so very proud. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We do look forward, if it be God's will, to being with you again tomorrow morning. Until then, good morning.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up.